Good evening. Am I audible?
Audible, sir.
Okay, so let us see what we have done till now and what is the agenda for today. So we have completed all this poverty and developmental issues, international relations, science and technology. We had some very good sessions on ethics, integrity, and aptitude. We did agriculture and allied sector, plus we did internal security, especially Operation Sindoor, New Normal, air defense system. With respect to border security management and Naxalism, we'll try to do it when time permits. But so far, we have been able to cover most of these topics. And now we are at the last topic, that is stakeholders of development, governance, e-governance, and NGOs, SHGs, donor and charitable institutions, and role of bureaucracy. So the idea is to do them in a very short period. Let us revise all of them. Most of these topics you have already studied, but importance of this is there will be a static question or there will be a current based theme based question asking any of these static parts, which you have to be ready, which you should be able to easily recall and write in a very short period. These topics are very low hanging fruits in GS2 paper. Otherwise governance में बाकी के जो topics हैं, it may have an element of subjectivity. These topics are very objective, straightforward, directly asked. Okay, so having said that, let us complete the stakeholders of development. So governance, NGO, SHG, e-governance, and role of civil services. So before we do role of civil services, let us discuss what is governance, who are the stakeholders of governance, the need for governance, challenges, institutional best practices, etc. So I think all of you are aware. If I were to ask you what is the World Bank definition of governance, etymological meaning everybody knows. It is from govern, from the Greek term governatatis, which means to steer a ship. But what is the World Bank's definition? We discussed this already in class. Any one of you would like to try? Yes? Anybody? Rishika? Hmm.
वर्ल्ड बैंक की डेफिनेशन भूल गई सर।
अब देखिए यही होता है, अब क्या है कि आपने पहली बार इसको रटने का प्रयास किया, उस समय आपको बहुत अच्छे से याद था, है ना?
यस सर।
हाँ, लेकिन अगर हम इसका मीनिंग समझ पा रहे होते तो हम उसको बड़े आसानी से लिख लेते, राइट?
यस सर।
हाँ, तो इस बेसिकली गवर्नेंस इज एसोसिएटेड विथ पावर एंड हाउ पावर शुड बी एक्सरसाइज्ड फॉर व्हाट पर्पस, राइट?
Social and economic.
यस, गवर्नेंस शुड बी यूज्ड फॉर, सॉरी इट इज, देख लीजिए यहाँ पे, it is the manner in which power is exercised in the administration and management of a country's economic and social resources for growth and development. Okay, and we had discussed Ajit Doval's quote, public policy is a reconciliation of diverse interests. कौटिल्य का भी हमने एक कॉन्सेप्ट देखा था योग शीमा का, which is this Yogak Shima is basically the concept of welfare state. In the welfare of the people lies the welfare of the king. State has two kinds of functions: protective function and promotive function. Protective function includes maintenance of law and order. Promotive function, your moral as well as material upliftment. तो ये इनमें से कोई भी चीज आप अपने इंट्रोडक्शन में लिख सकते हैं. My recommendation is to write World Bank's definition as well as Kautilya. Okay. Next is, why do we need governance? So we discussed it from three themes: political justice, social justice and economic justice. So political justice क्या है? Governance is required to create empowered and informed citizenry. Governance is to form, criticize and reform and change the government, even for participative governance. In economic justice sense, governance is required to reduce inequalities of income and wealth for ease of doing business. Dare I add, ease of living also. A question will be asked this year on this theme, ease of living, either as a part of society question or as a part of governance or economy question. What is ease of living? What are the things government has done for bringing ease of living? So ease of living के लिए सरकार जो है, it is providing the basic amenities, the physical infrastructure. For example, affordable housing. For example, toilets in each houses, piped water supply under Jal Jeevan Mission. Government is providing clean, affordable electricity. Saubhagya Yojana. It is also providing clean cooking fuel. Pahal Yojana. So one aspect is providing the basic amenities doorstep. That is ease of living. Second, then the hand of trust. For example, you can self-certify your certificates. Then government is doing away with many archaic laws. Government came up with Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. It tried to humanize, it tried to make laws in the country easy to understand for the common man. Then you can talk about various sectors also. For example, agriculture sector, for example, manufacturing sector, services sector. You can talk about the way government connects. There is MyGov, there is various grievance redressal mechanisms, so on and so forth. There is single window clearances. All those ideas, ease of living में आप अपने cumulative knowledge से एक बहुत अच्छा आंसर लिख सकते हैं. Okay, it is the next step or evolution of maximum governance, minimum government. Okay, so this is definitely a very important theme for this year's mains. Okay, so need for governance, political, economic and justice. In justice, there will be inequality of status and opportunities will be eliminated. There will be fostering of inclusive growth. There will be positive discrimination in vulnerable, in favor of vulnerable section. If we talk about the stakeholders of governance, again given by World Bank, so it is state, it is market and civil society. State का हमने देख लिया, protective और promotive function. My apologies. Then market, there should be non-cartelization. Market should not behave like a cartel. It should be non-monopolistic. Market में entry और exit barriers नहीं होने चाहिए. There should be no crony capitalism. Market should be on the principle of demand and supply. Civil society का क्या काम है? Implementing state reform policies, dialogue and feedback between citizen and state. It should protect the citizen from arbitrary use of power. It should provide necessary support for implementation of government schemes to last person in the queue. Then there are certain challenges to corruption. Biggest challenge is corruption. Definitely corruption is one of the most pressing problems because it erodes the foundation of governance system, and the foundation is people's faith in the institutions. it erodes the faith of the people in the institutions. That is the biggest problem with respect to corruption. आजकल जो है करप्शन को मुद्दा सिर्फ इसीलिए बनाया जा रहा है in those quarters where people's faith in the institution is definitely put under some kind of stress or test. जैसे यूथ को किया जाएगा, फार्मर को किया जाएगा. The idea basically is that they should challenge the order. अभी जब सब कुछ भी नहीं काम किया, तो then they try to attack democracy through more direct ways. For example, there is some kind of voter chori on the ground that some voter IDs are having same name, same address, so on and so forth. Okay, so on the basis of that, see, asking for reforms in election commission, Supreme Court, etc., everything is fine. That is the role of an opposition. But it should not be the case that you create suspicion in the minds of the people. People's faith in institutions should be increased, not decreased. And this was a direct attack, so on, because one of the political members said that election commission should cancel 2024 elections. So they don't understand, probably they don't care what is the cost or what is the impact if there is no peaceful transition of power. One of the beauties of democracy is the peaceful transition of power. So that has to be protected as one of the core values, which I think in trying to get back to power, they are ready to forfeit at all costs. That is the only problem that I find personally. Otherwise, it is the role of an opposition to bring out issues which are in national interest. But how it is brought out, where it is brought out, you make a political case out of it on the street, where you question the validity of elections, the validity of the election commission, that kind of makes your aim duplicitous. Your real aim, your real model, your toolkit, etc. is being understood. So that is the case right now. Whereas generally criminalization of politics, this is definitely a problem with respect to governance, because criminalization hone se law breakers become law makers. This creates an unholy nexus. Nexus कैसा बन जाएगा? Nexus बन जाएगा पॉलिटिशियन का, नेक्सस बन जाएगा क्रोनी कैपिटलिस्ट का, और नेक्सस बन जाएगा ब्यूरोक्रेसी का. फिर सिटीजन जो है इस ट्रिपल बर्डन से जब निकलने का प्रयास करेगा, तो जुडिशरी इज ओवरबर्डन, the judiciary is overburdened, plus bureaucracy is not independent. तो इसके लिए फिर सिटीजन क्या करेगा? सिटीजन विल बी एग्जिटिंग द स्टेट. And this will further lead to rise of criminalization of politics, because muscle men, people who are having money and muscle power, they will be giving justice in the society. There will be institutions like खाप etc. तो criminalization बढ़ने से, sorry, citizen के exit होने से criminalization भी बढ़ जाएगा. Then issues of bureaucracy, there is structural, functional and attitudinal challenges with respect to bureaucracy. For example, hierarchy leads to red tapeism. In function, the relationship is not codified between permanent executive as well as political executive. Attitudinal में there is still colonial hangover wedded to powers and privileges. अभी आपने ये खोब्रागढ़े इशू, नहीं, नॉट खोब्रागढ़े, क्या नाम था, पूजा खेडकर, what was the name of the IAS trainee who was alleged to have forged her documents? Khedkar only, no? Yes.
Yes.
So she was caught because she was asking what? Otherwise तो पकड़े भी नहीं जाती. Because she was asking for a separate chamber, separate staff, separate government car, etc., which is not given to a probationer. That is how it came to light. Otherwise, the lobby protects itself. Internally, jo ho raha hoga, everybody will be watching. Everybody's watch back. There is a association and there is a lobby. Though this came out because it went above somebody's head. Okay. So fourth problem is there is lack of accountability. More than 5 crore cases are pending in court. There is lack of awareness among citizens. Now, what are the measures to increase governance? There is institutional measure, for example, Right to Information Act. There is entitlement based approach now, right to work, national food security, new CRPC, IPC code. There is participatory government by the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment. There is public interest litigation, etc. Then best practice mein Odisha's 5T approach: teamwork, transparency, technology, transformation, and time. So Asian Athletic Championship was been able to be organized successfully within 90 days. Okay, so this is about the first topic, that is governance. Now, next topic is the stakeholders of governance, and first stakeholder is obviously bureaucracy. So my first question to you is, what is civil services? Yes. If somebody were to ask you what is civil services, what will be your answer?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, civil service is that branch of executive which implements the government policies like which are made by lawmaking body
Absolutely correct.
for the betterment
UPSC had asked in prelims also, what is the most important function of bureaucracy? So the most important function of bureaucracy is implementing the policies of the government of the day. Or policies of the permanent political executive. So it is that branch of the executive that implements government policies, runs the administrative machinery, and works for the betterment of society and nation. So Article 53 in a way mentions that the president is the head of the executive and he runs either directly or through officers subordinate to him. If we talk about the evolution, then in modern empire, there is a clear-cut hierarchy of bureaucracy. There is also proper grading of salary, right? They were called amatyas and adhyakshas. There is a very elaborate hierarchy of officers. Then in Akbar's mansabdari system, the mansab is given to kind of an officer, and his duty is to provide protective as well as promotive functions in his mansab. Then there is the Cornwallis Imperial Civil Service Code. Cornwallis tries to reform civil services to meet the needs of the colonial power, जिसमें कि servants of the company should not become too powerful. Then there is Government of India Act 1919. Can anybody tell me why I have mentioned this in evolution? Because for the first time, civil services exams in India is held in which year?
1922.
22. 21. Anybody else?
1920.
20. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया 1919 में पास ही हुआ, आपको लग रहा है कि 20 में हो जाएगा?
2022 only. 23, 22.
23, 24. थोड़ा और बड़ी. You'll have to find and tell me. It is not 20, 21, 22. Okay, so the idea is basically for the first time, simultaneous civil service exams are being held, and they are also being held in India.
The 1922 only.
1922 only. When is the first joint civil service body established?
Sir, post Government of India Act 1935.
1935, yes. So the idea basically is that it is a follow-up on the August Declaration. Which talked about gradual self-development. One of them was in bureaucracy. Then Sardar Patel is the father of Indian civil services, independent India with the role of welfare state. He continued the imperial civil services into Indian civil services, and later another all India service was added, which is Indian forest services in 19. Yes, forest services is added in. एक बस बताना है आपको 1966. Yes. So under Indira Gandhi ji, another all India service was added. If we talk about so this is the evolution as well as the definition. Now the constitutional provisions, Article 53 we have already seen. Then we have seen this services comes in part 14 of the Constitution, 308 to 323. Services come both under the union as well as the state list. Article 311 provides protection to civil servants, especially when there is a charge of corruption. So for arresting that officer, there has to be a permission taken by a competent authority. So that protection is given under 311, plus they cannot be removed by an authority subordinate to the one that appointed them. These two provisions provide some kind of immunity to civil servants in India. There is also a debate whether this immunity of prior sanction as well as immunity of job security should be removed altogether or not. So two protections are given, one of prior sanction, and second, cannot be dismissed by an authority subordinate to the one appointing. So second ARC तो कहता है कि Article 311 should be removed. They do not require such kind of protection. This is the cause of problems in bureaucracy, especially with respect to corruption, lack of decision making, so on and so forth. Article 312 talks about creation of all India services. Now the need of civil servants, why they are needed in a bureaucracy. One thing everybody has told me, that is for implementation of various schemes of the government. But even other than that, they are required first and foremost for national integration. They play a very important role in some kind of federal cooperation between center and state, plus to face the problems of regionalism, casteism, sectarianism, discrimination on various levels. Civil service is the steel frame on which the foundations of national building can be built. Then economic planning, they are very important for growth, development, type of growth or inclusive growth. Then scientific and technological revolution, that is also required. It would not be possible unless and until large scale administration in the large scale people in the administration adopt these technologies. For example, if you talk about UPI, is this a private innovation or a government innovation? Yes. Is UPI a private innovation or a government innovation?
So
Government innovation, NPCA. So, but if the government had not gone for DBT, if the government would have not gone for digitization of economy, digital India, etc., would UPI be so successful?
No, sir.
No. So therefore, any kind of, जैसे अभी AI है मान लीजिए, So its success in India would also require the way it is adopted or included by the government. Okay. Then obviously crisis management, natural as well as human calamities require rescue, relief and rehabilitation, in which civil service role is very, very significant. Then civil service is also important for bringing some kind of continuity. So in parliamentary democratic systems, permanent executives advise the political executives on policy continuity and change. Continuity should be there on core policies. For example, foreign policy, defense, for example, welfare state. There should be some kind of continuity. Yes, when this government came, it did not do away with National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. It merely reformed it. It merely brought it into a new workable model. Why? Because it was one way to provide some kind of assured employment. India was facing huge and is still facing in some way employment crisis. So मनरेगा की खास बात क्या थी? It has a very good intrinsic ability to identify the beneficiary. क्योंकि अनस्किल्ड लेबर कौन करना चाहेगा? जो अनस्किल्ड होगा, तो ऑटोमेटिक आइडेंटिफिकेशन है. इट वाज अ गुड स्कीम, ओनली इट वाज नॉट एबल टू क्रिएट ड्यूरेबल और ecological assets, which was changed. Okay. Then it is also important for policy implementation. The most important role is the implementation of policies and providing the administrative machinery. Center state coordination, cooperative federalism, because as you know, the all India services, they are recruited, trained by the center but posted in
States.
Then uniformity and efficiency, ये आपके लक्ष्मीकांत में लिखा हुआ है. डॉक्टर अंबेडकर in the constituent assembly debate said that constitutionally both center and state have their own services, but there are some positions that are so strategic in nature from the point of view of maintaining standards of administration. Okay. Then this is also important, free and fair election, which has been what has been brought into question right now by the opposition. One of the most important role of civil services is peaceful transition of power. They have to maintain level playing field and remain politically neutral. इसमें एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट है कि स्टेट मशीनरी को यूज नहीं करने दिया जाए by those who are right now in power. Okay. They are also an important agent of social change. सोसाइटी में इनका बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट रोल है. सोसाइटी में इनका रोल क्या है? रिफॉर्म लाने का. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, प्रोहिबिशन ऑफ मैनुअल स्कैवेंजिंग. पॉजिटिव रोल क्या है? रिहेबिलिटेट द वर्किंग ऑफ मैनुअल स्कैवेंजर. नेगेटिव रोल क्या है? पनिश दोज हु employ manual scavengers. You can use this for child labor, you can use this for discrimination against women, any of the vulnerable section. Civil service is an important agent of social change. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. No. Till here we discussed is the definition, what is the evolution, and the need and role of citizens in a democracy. Clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So a civil servant should have these things. They should have aptitude, that is professional competence. They should have aptitude based on foundational values and ethics. Know the foundational values and community. Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
What was the last thing you heard before I got disconnected?
Civil service as the foundational values.
Civil services, foundational values. Okay. Then they should also have attitude, that is emotional intelligence, persuasion, social influence. Now, what are some of the challenges? There are structural challenges, there are attitudinal challenges, and there are functional challenges. Structural challenges, hierarchy is a big challenge in civil service, which I have explained through an example. So there is the clerical staff, there is a departmental officer, then there is DM, then there is higher authority. Plus, this would be coming back in the same way. So one decision making is going through several levels. This is one of the reasons for red tapeism or undue delay. Okay. The hierarchy. Plus, there is lack of accountability in decision making. Everyone's responsibility becomes no one's responsibility. Then there is procedure oriented instead of outcome oriented. The strict focus is on procedural eligibility. The administration is rule based and not roles based. There is incentive for delay and disincentive for risk. क्योंकि अगर आप risk लेंगे तो बाद में जो है you will be scrutinized based on laws, rules, and nobody wants to face the 3 C's, that is court, CBI, and CAG. Everybody wants to avoid, so basically they will be kind of avoiding this. Okay. There is also lack of clear separation between policy formulation and policy implementation. इनके बीच में भी एक वो नहीं है. Many of them formulate the policies top down approach and try to implement. That is the reason for failure. Especially, for example, there still exists poverty in India despite so many reforms. There is still problem in the social sector, economic sector, despite so many schemes, government policies, etc. Because there is lack of separation between policy formulation and implementation. Then there is also functional challenges. ये तो structural हो गया. Functional challenges भी है. There is lack of clarity on relation between bureaucracy and political executive. इनका relation जो है वो codified नहीं है. कोडिफाइड ना होने के कारण जो है कमिटेड ब्यूरोक्रेसी हो जाती है. ब्यूरोक्रेसी हु इज कमिटेड टू द पॉलिटिकल पार्टी इन पावर, दिस लीड्स टू करप्शन एंड वेरियस अदर काइंड्स ऑफ lack of accountability. This leads to political appointments, lack of security of tenure, punishment, transfer, posting. Example, Durga Shakti Nagpal is given. When she cracked down on the mafia, she was transferred, and then her husband went into Instagram reels for dancing. Then there is lack of specialization. Bureaucracy is generally manned by generalists. Today, administration is becoming very, very technical and it requires specialists, especially with the coming of new uh, uh, or especially with the coming of the way technology is moving, foreign policy is moving, economy is moving. Bureaucracy is anyways less in favor of adaptations. There is a kind of status quoist approach. They don't want to quickly change because there is fear that it may even change the powers and privileges that are available. Okay. There is no exit mechanism, very rarely dismissed from the services. It was only after this government came that it actively started making civil servants take VRS, voluntary retirement service. Otherwise, they were very rarely dismissed. There was disincentive for decision making, incentive for action, because rules allow for, मतलब आपको जो है 10 साल पे, 16 साल पे, 25 साल पे ऑटोमेटिक आपको जो है इंक्रीमेंट्स प्रमोशंस वगैरह मिलते रहेंगे. So therefore you will have to just bide your time. You will be there in some good place, etc. But this government changed this kind of system. They came up with 360-degree appraisal mechanism. It came up with the ACR system. I mean, the ACR system was replaced by the APR system. So there is annual performance review. The performance is reviewed by at various levels. There is also a kind of 360-degree review. The review is not simply for you meeting the targets, but what has been your values towards weaker section, values towards teamwork, values towards innovation. तो जब अब APR भरा जाता है अपने सबऑर्डिनेट्स का, तो ऐसे सवाल पूछे जाते हैं कि इनकी लीडरशिप में कैसा रोल है, ये जो है आर दे अवेयर ऑफ द लॉज, रूल्स, रेगुलेशंस, आर दे रिसेप्टिव एंड रिस्पॉन्सिव टुवर्ड्स द पब्लिक. इस तरह के सवाल APR में होते हैं. बस ऐसा नहीं है कि यू सिंपली हैव टू, द ऑफिसर हैज टू सिंपली राइट कि उत्कृष्ट है, कि इनकी सेवा 3 ही कैटेगरीज में जो बटी रहती थी पहले. नाउ यू हैव आल्सो दिस डिटेल्ड पॉइंटर्स. ओके, देन देयर इज आल्सो attitudinal problem in bureaucracy. One is the colonial legacy, the license era bureaucracy. Earlier this bureaucracy was wedded to, it is still in some ways wedded to power. अब तो सोशल मीडिया आने से फिर भी थोड़ा सा दिमाग ठंडा हो गया. अदरवाइज they were wedded towards power. You have seen during COVID the high-handedness of many of the officials, how they were behaving. Okay, so bureaucracy was the license, permit, quota bureaucracy. It did not, or it could not transform itself to the LPG era, liberalization, privatization, globalization era, जहां पर की bureaucracy had to take a back seat in the economic sphere. That did not happen. Then that is one of the reasons our LPG reforms got slowed down, because bureaucracy was not willing to cede power. Okay, then finally the reforms have been structural, recruitment based, capacity building, performance and promotion, accountability and professionalism. On these 6 pillars, reform has been taking place. If we talk about structural, second ARC suggests a National Institute for Public Administration should be set up to run bachelor's degree in public administration and governance. It even suggested the structure of the examination process should be changed. It suggested that prelims and mains should be conducted on the same day. That was the idea of second ARC. Recruitment के लिए होता committee, YK अलग committee, they both gave some ideas. Hota committee recommended that aptitude and leadership test may be conducted for selection. YK alag favored testing candidate in common subject rather than optional subject. Then there are reforms for capacity building, that is called Mission Karmayogi. Its objective is to prepare Indian civil servants for the poor. It is part of the program called National Program for Civil Services and Capacity Building. It is based on 6 pillars. Pillar number 1 is policy framework, in which you have to break away from the silos approach. Can anybody tell me what is the silos approach? With any particular example, can you tell me what is the silos approach? Yes.
Sir, so maybe silos approach can be like interdepartmentalization, coordination with different departments.
That is silos approach, or that is opposite of silos approach. So currently, silos approach is you are focused or fixated on your department instead of interdepartmental cooperation, instead of working as a whole of government approach. जैसा कि आपने अभी एक एग्जाम्पल देखा होगा in Madhya Pradesh, where a bridge was built with a 90-degree turn. You might have seen.
Yes, sir.
So why that happened? Because there was a silos approach. The PWD was working separately, the railways was working separately, the land acquisition department that was doing its work separately, etc. So that is called silos approach. इसीलिए at the central level government came up with PM Gati Shakti. Okay. Next is the competency framework, in which there is IGOT, which is online skill enhancement mode. बहुत सारे courses हैं इसमें. It is part of Mission Karmyogi only. You can learn many courses, many programs, skills on the IGOT platform. Once you become an officer, you can do on the job training. Third is the EHRMS, which is for online transfer posting leaves. Pillar 4 is the institutional framework, which is setting up the capacity building commission, and PMHRC, that is Prime Minister's Human Resource Council, which will take strategic direction for civil services reforms. So this is the third pillar on which there are 6 steps taken. So we are right now seeing for recruitment and capacity building, and in that context, National Program for Civil Services and Capacity Building. This program itself is of 6 pillars. Okay. Plus it itself we are discussing under capacity building, performance and promotion. Then performance and promotion, 360-degree performance review. Induction of civil service officers into all India officers will be based on recommendations of UPSC. For accountability, there should be a code of ethics. This code of ethics should codify also the relation between bureaucracy and politics, or relation between permanent executives, that is bureaucracy, and political executives, that is government. The value should be based on integrity, merit and excellence in public service. Major policy decisions should be taken by committee and not individuals, just to reduce the chances of corruption, etc. Okay. Best practices mein, government, if it wants to take out a public policy, there should be policy implementation, service delivery, there should be education reform, there should be feedback, there should be democratization. So there should be a circular approach to administration. There should be constant feedback on the policy implementation. The policy should be implemented in consultation with the people. So there should be formulation, there should be implementation, and there should be reformation. All of this should go in a cyclical manner. Policy should not be set on a top down or from armchair model. It should be based on formulation, implementation, reform. और इसमें बीच में आप चाहें तो कंसल्टेशन को भी ऐड कर सकते हैं. कंसल्टेशन, फॉर्मुलेशन, implementation, reform, consultation, that can be the model for getting better schemes. Okay. So that is all with respect to role of civil services. Now let us try to revise these 2 topics. So first, we discussed governance. In governance, we discussed what is the definition. So there is a World Bank definition of governance. World Bank says that it is the manner in which power is exercised for socio-economic development, growth and welfare of the country. There was also a quote with respect to this. The quote was from Shri Ajit Doval, that public policy is reconciliation of diverse interests. Then we discussed in governance about the need for governance. Why is there governance required? And we talked about political justice, social justice, and economic justice. In economic justice, we talked about reduction or minimization of inequality of wealth. There should be ease of doing business as well as ease of living.
In social justice, we talked about elimination of any kinds of discrimination or inequality of status and opportunity. In political justice, there should be a responsive government. There should be a vibrant civil society to criticize, correct, and even change the government as and when it is required. So this was the need for governance. Then we also discussed after that the various challenges that are there with respect to governance, and most important was the two C's, that is corruption and criminalization. Corruption is the basic problem because it challenges people's faith in the institutions. Then criminalization of politics is also a big challenge because lawbreakers become makers, citizens exit the state. Okay. Then there are several challenges with respect to bureaucracy, for example, structural, functional, attitudinal, which we saw in the second topic. Then we saw various measures for governance, for example, institutional measures, Right to Information Act, entitlement based approach like right to food, right to work, new CRPC, IPC code came for participatory government, 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment came. Then judiciary came up with public interest litigation, PIL, no locus standi, etc. And in best practices, we discussed Odisha government's 5T approach. 5T में क्या है? Team, teamwork, transparency, technology. Technology should be transformative. So there is transformation and it should be time bound. So 5Ts are teamwork, transparency, technology, transformation, and time. Okay, so that is all on the governance topic. Then we discussed one of the stakeholders of development or governance, that is civil services. First, we discussed its definition. So civil service, as opposed to military service, they are those part of the executive that run the administration and implement the policies of the government and works for the betterment of the nation. We saw their constitutional basis. Constitutional basis is under Article 53. Then we saw the evolution of civil services from Kautilya, Amatyas, and Adhyakshas. We talked about Akbar's Mansabdari system. Then we talked about the Cornwallis Code. And then father of modern civil services, Sardar Patel, he retained civil services and reformed it to become from imperial to Indian civil services. New services was added in 1900. So that is the evolution. Then we discussed the need and role of all India services. Okay. We also discussed the other constitutional provisions. For example, 308 to 323 is where these services are mentioned, both of the union and the state. Then we discussed about the importance of 311, which provides two kinds of protection. That is one for prior sanction before prosecution, and they cannot be dismissed by an authority subordinate to them. Then we also discussed about 312, Rajya Sabha can create a new service. We discussed the need for civil services, and in need, we talked about that national integration requires to face the problems of regionalisms, sectarianism, communalism, and civil service is the steel frame upon which this can be built. Then economic planning, we require that there is growth as well as inclusive growth. Then scientific and technological progress would require it to be adopted by the administration. We know that they are the crisis in manager or crisis management, for example, especially natural disasters or other disasters, law and order, etc. Bureaucracy is required. Then we discussed about that they are also the element of bringing continuity and change, continuity in important core policies and change according to the time of the day or according to the requirements of the day. Then we also discussed that bureaucracy's important roles are policy implementation, free and fair conduct of election, center-state coordination. Then they are also agents of social change, both positive and negative role is played by them. They are also important for protection of the rights of the vulnerable section. We talked about some of the challenges. Challenges were divided into three heads: structural challenges, functional challenges, and attitudinal challenges. In structural challenge, biggest challenge was hierarchy. This hierarchy causes red tapeism. This hierarchy causes delay in decision making. There is incentive for not deciding or not taking risk. There is disincentive for taking risks. There is procedure oriented or output oriented instead of outcome oriented bureaucracy. There is strict emphasis on procedural eligibilities. We discussed about the functional challenges. In functional challenges, biggest functional challenge is no clear cut separation between policy implementation and policy formulation. There is no codification of the relation between permanent executive and political executive. So bureaucracy leads to committed bureaucracy where they are wedded to the powers and privileges of the government of the day. Then we also talked about there is no exit mechanism, there is no dismissals, easy dismissals, etc. Plus, we also talked about lastly the third, that is attitudinal. There is also colonial legacy. They are wedded to powers and privileges. There is status quoist. They are not ready for change, etc. It is the license permit quota era bureaucracy, which is why LPG reforms got slowed down. Then we talked about reforms. Reforms में हमने एक तरीका बनाया कि हम reforms को कैसे देखेंगे. So we talked about structural reforms. Then recruitment में क्या reform हुआ. Then policy and promotion में क्या reform है. Capacity building में क्या reform है. Accountability में क्या reform है. When we talked about structural reforms, we talked about that second ARC suggested that there should be a National Institute for Public Administration जो course चलाए. We talked about the recruitment process in which होता committee said that aptitude और leadership का भी test होना चाहिए. Merely ये rote learning और इसका test नहीं होना चाहिए. Then YK अलग committee said that they should be checked on same subject rather than optional subjects. Then we talked about the changes for capacity building and performance, in which we talked about national program for civil servants and capacity building, Mission Karma Yogi. Here we talked about that there is 6 frameworks. First framework is policy framework, where they have to break from the silos approach. Second is the competency framework, in which their skills are enhanced through iGot portal, where they can get on the job training. There is also EHRMS for online transfer, posting, etc. Then there is an institutional framework. 2 institutions have to be built. One is at the Prime Minister's level called PMHRC, Prime Minister's Human Resource Council, and the other is CBC, Capacity Building Commission. So these are the several frameworks in Mission Karma Yogi. Then we talked about for performance and promotion, there should be 360-degree appraisal. There should be induction of state service officers as all India officers only on the recommendations of UPSC. And finally, for accountability, we discussed that there should be a code of ethics which properly codifies the relation between civil services and bureaucracy. It should be based on values like integrity, values like merit, values like dedication towards public service, so on and so forth. Conclusion में हमने देखा कि policy formulation से पहले there should be consultation, then there will be policy formulation, then there will be policy implementation, there will be feedback from the citizenry, and this will go in a cycle for getting the best reforms for creating bureaucracy of the future. Okay, so these 2 topics, is it clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Everybody.
Yes, sir.
So just take 3 to 4 to 5 minutes, as much time as you need. Try to recall both the topics. You can start with role of civil services first, and then you try to recall governance. And one of you can let me know when it's done. I'm giving you 5 minutes for this. Yes, revised.
Yes, sir.
Everybody. Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
Gauri.
Yes, sir.
How many of you are improving in this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us start. NGOs and SHGs. No, one more topic is there, e-governance. So this is in fact the second topic which we should have done after governance, but no worries. So e-governance definition is very simple. After reading governance, everything what was written there with the use of information technology. So used by government agency of information technology such as internet, computing, etc. For what purpose? When the process, institution and principles of governance are applied and delivered via electronic medium, it is called e-governance. It is a move towards smart governance. Smart में क्या है? Simple, moral, accountable, responsive, transparent. Simple, user friendly. Moral, it is designed on moral values that uplift the spirit of the constitution. Accountability, to fix accountability of public service functioning. Responsible, responsive, quick, preferably relative response. Transparent, use of public information systems to create trust. Examples दिए हैं यहाँ पे IGRS, UPI, E-Shakti, DigiLocker. All these are examples that you can give. Darpan portal. Okay. There is the e-governance plan 2.0, which is part of the Digital India initiative, a vision for transforming e-governance, also known as e-Kranti, in which there is mission mode projects for education, e-justice, for farmers, etc. The models, ARC has explained 4 models of e-governance. One is the G2C or government to citizenry model, where an interface is created between the government and the citizenship. It is based on 3 things: when to interact with the government, where to interact, and how to interact. So there are examples given like e-citizen, e-transport, e-education, and e-medicine on this same pillar where the government is interacting with the citizenry. Next is government to business interaction, where the government is interacting with the corporate sector. So there is single window interaction with business community to reduce cost and time overruns of doing business. For example, taxation mein there is faceless, nameless assessment, e-way bills in GST, e-NAM for agriculture. Third is the government to government portal, where interaction is between governments at various levels. Very easy example is crime and criminal teaching. Crime and criminal teaching network nahi hoga. This T I think is wrongly written. So CCTNS is basically the unification of the all police stations in India into one platform. कई बार ऐसा हुआ कि बहुत heinous criminals, they were left out by any police station because they did not have record of some other state or some other district. So in the CCTNS system, there will be this government to government interaction. That entire profiling of criminal will be there, or a history sheeter will be there. Last is the government to employee, which we did in Mission Karmogi, called I got portal. Or there is EHRMS, electronic human resource management system, or Manav Sampada portal. Both are for government connecting with its employees. Then there is also the various stages of governance. Governance is not simply a website, but it is an interactive based model. So first is the general information stage, where there is presence of website, e-brochures. This makes the first stage of e-governance, where the objective is simple delivery of information with little or no scope of interaction. Second is the stage where there is some kind of interaction between various stakeholders. For example, government will be communicating via email, customer care, feedback, review form. Third is the transaction stage, which means possible transaction between government and stakeholders. For example, your Beam, for example, various portals for license, filling of job application forms, OTRs, etc. Fourth is the transformation stage, which is the highest stage of e-governance, which utilizes e-technology for all the three stages, where everything is happening simultaneously. There is interaction, transaction, presence of website, everything is happening simultaneously. This is the highest stage of e-governance. Okay. For example, e-seva, e-district, e-courts. E-court is in two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Then what are the some potential benefits? But benefits are internal and external. For example, there is benefits for administration, there is benefits with respect to efficiency, benefit with respect to digital India, benefit with respect to COVID-19. Internally, there will be security of information management, there is avoidance of duplication, there will be simplification of bureaucratic procedures like file handling, there will be greater efficiency, better work culture, there will be cooperation and information sharing, there will be upward and downward communication. Externally, there will be faster and time bound services, there will be elimination of leakage and diversion, there will be less incentive for rent seeking and corruption, क्योंकि आपको पता होगा कि फाइल किसके पास है, कहां पर डिले है, कितने टाइम में आपको मिलेगी. There will be innovation in delivery, there will be last mile reach. For digital India also, there will be better identification of beneficiaries, there will be cutting of middlemen, there will be implementation of the citizen charter, there will be accountability and grievance redressal mechanism, there will be ease of doing business. Okay, there will be data driven, evidence based pilot projects, etc., which can be done based on e-governance model. Then there are challenges. First of all, economic challenge is there. Initial cost will be very high, especially when we want to keep data and internet as a public good. Then technical challenge, there will be obviously the fear of cyber attack. Okay, there is lack of financial and digital literacy, there is weak implementation of national optical fiber mission. Then there are social issues, there is language barrier, very few people are able to understand, and these websites are not in local languages. Okay, there is also no specific large scale awareness or training programs, etc., for which government has come up with various initiatives. Center has come up with Digital India initiative with 9 pillars. Okay, one of the pillars is on e-governance, which is about reforming the governance. There is, for example, Karnataka's Khajana project. Hong Kong provides most of the services through e-governance. Then there are various state awards for e-governance. There is also GEM portal, which is government e-marketplace. There is the India Stack, which is e-Sanjeevani, Poshan Tracker, etc. These are all examples for e-governance. Okay. Now, very quickly, let us discuss NGOs and SHGs, because you have already done this many times. So you will be able to do it. Let me see if any of you remember the definition of NGO given by World Bank. Can anybody tell me the definition? Yes.
Yes, sir. So, according to World Bank, NGOs are the non-profit organization that serves activities to relieve the sufferings of the poor,
Yes.
promote the interests of the poor, protect the environment, and to undertake some basic social services
Correct.
to
And basic social services
community
for
development.
community development. Correct. So if we see the evolution of NGOs in India, NGOs is co-terminus with socio-religious reform movement. There is Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, Theosophical Society. Then There is the British Society Registration Act. During freedom struggle, there were various NGOs that worked for. There was Theosophical Society, etc., for mobilization against the colonial rule. Then we discussed about the need for NGOs, and we saw that first there is a vacuum. Government exited after the 1991 reforms, and business is profit oriented. It is not an instrument for social justice. So there was a vacuum in social sector, which was filled by NGOs. So there was inadequacy of two development agencies, government and private business, which was filled by the NGOs. Then constitutionally also, 19(1)(c) provides for freedom of association. It is a fundamental duty to form associations, unions, etc. India's Human Development Index requires that there is better developmental agencies. Plus, there are certain inherent strength in the NGOs because of which they are required. They have a strong grassroots link. They have the ability to innovate. They are based on the volunteers' zeal, and they are cost efficient organizations. In this context only, we discussed about the two types of NGOs. One is the advocacy NGOs and one is the operational NGOs. Advocacy NGOs talk or fight for some kind of cause. Implementation NGOs are included in implementation. For example, Greenpeace, PUCL. Whereas operational NGOs, Akshay Patra is there. Then examples were given for important NGOs with respect to civil liberty, with respect to PUCL, ADR, MKSS. For poverty, there is Transparency International, India Against Corruption. There is Gunj for humanitarian assistance, disaster relief. There is Samman Foundation. There is Siros for dignity of manual labor and acid attack survivors. Then we also discussed some of the features of NGO. So they are non-profit or donor-based. They are voluntary association, autonomous. They are government-managed. They are under Section 25 of Companies Act. Some of them are registered under Society Registration Act. They are part of the civil society with their own constitution. We also discussed what is the important difference between NGOs and SHGs. NGOs are legal entities. SHGs, no statutory requirement. Their members are from voluntary professional background. Their members are from common rural background. They receive fund from government, philanthropists. SHGs, they fund themselves. They provide social welfare service. They provide financial remediation. They work at national, international level. They work in rural areas. So this is the major difference between NGOs and SHGs. SHGs is a small NGO working for financial remediation in rural areas. Then the functions of NGO, if it is asked, to reach the last person in the queue, Antodaya, to protect the citizen against arbitrary state power, for poverty alleviation and rural development. They provide basic social services in remote areas. Then champion the cause of vulnerable section. For example, NAS Foundation, decriminalization of Section 377. They act as pressure group for bringing important legislations. For example, MKSS, Mazdoor Kisan Sangathan, was important for RTI Act. Then they are also involved in back channel or track to diplomacy. For example, Vivekanand Foundation, for transparency and accountability, they play an important role in social audit. However, there are certain challenges. Biggest challenge is their transparency and accountability. They become a non-state actor sometimes. So they are involved in stage protests. IB कहता है कि हमारे GDP को 2% नुकसान होता है इनके द्वारा. They are linkages with state and non-state actors. For example, NGOs fuel Naxalism, insurgency. They sometimes work as OGWs, that is overground workers. These NGOs, many times, they lack independence. They are basically a tutelage of the government or puppet of the government because the government is the major donor. There is unequal distribution. NGOs are very, very less in rural areas, and they are picking up popular issues instead of mass concern. They are more advocacy based. They are more activist NGOs rather than working actually on the grassroots level. Government came up with various reforms. For example, FCRA was amended in 2020. NGOs were declared as public authority in RTI. Under the FCRA amendment, they can receive money only in SBI account in Delhi. Their registration is valid for 5 years. They have to do the KYC of its employees and directors. Plus, only 20% of the money can be on administrative expenditure. 80% will be on social work. So that is all. In conclusion, India needs NGOs to be part of its development. This requires responsibility of both government and NGO. Government should provide the hand of trust. NGOs, they should not be obstructionist or merely activists. So that is all on the NGO topic. Finally, SHGs, और उसके बाद हम इसको रिवाइज कर लेंगे. It will complete our stakeholders of development. सो SHGs में हमने डेफिनेशन SHGs का देखा, इवोल्यूशन देखा, फीचर्स देखा, प्रॉब्लम्स देखा और बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस. डेफिनेशन में क्या है, नबार्ड इसको डिफाइन करता है SHGs एज अ होमोजेनस ग्रुप ऑफ रूरल पुअर हु हैव वॉलंटरी कम टुगेदर टू सेव अ पार्ट ऑफ देयर अर्निंग एंड म्यूचुअली अग्री टू कंट्रीब्यूट फॉर इमरजेंट क्रेडिट नीड्स. इसका इवोल्यूशन अगर हम देखें तो मोहम्मद यूनिस Grameen Bank, that is where the NGO started, but we can always make the case. There was Ahmedabad Labour Textile Association, there was Seva of Ila Bhatt, where she involved women rag pickers and women domestic help in self-employment. There is also Lijjat Papad, that is also a very good example. इनके अगर फीचर देखें तो ये भी वॉलंटरी है, सेल्फ गवर्निंग है, कॉमन सोशल. ये इंपॉर्टेंट फीचर है जो एनजीओ में नहीं है. दीज पीपल दे कम फ्रॉम कॉमन सोशल एंड कल्चरल बैकग्राउंड. देन दे आर सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड, फाइनेंशियल रिमीडिएशन में काम करते हैं. एनजीओस की तरह ये नॉन प्रॉफिट नहीं है, दे आर डेफिनेटली प्रॉफिट मेकिंग. वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट इज द रोल ऑफ विमेन लीडरशिप. इट इज ऑल्सो बेस्ड ऑन म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट. सिग्निफिकेंस में आप देखेंगे तो यही सिग्निफिकेंस में भी आ जाता है. फर्स्ट, दे आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कंड्यूट फॉर लीडरशिप ऑफ विमेन. विमेन आर एबल टू मोबिलाइज स्पेशली on many social evils like dowry, liquor, etc. in rural areas. They are able to create rural demand. They are, हमने एक रिपोर्ट देखी थी called NAFIS, that is NABARD All India Financial Inclusion Survey Report. उसमें इन्होंने बताया था कि हमने कई सारा डेटा भी देखा क्लास में with respect to SHGs. Report said that income increased, expenditure increased, savings increased. Many of the families, 22% of the families came out of the poverty, which were part of the SHGs. Then there is also political benefit. In political benefit, we saw the Odisha model, where many leaders, many women leaders, they were able to join and win even elections. We saw that they are important for poverty alleviation. We saw the Kerala Kudumshri project. Okay. Now, with respect to the challenges, the important challenge with respect to SHGs was कि SHG जो है, it is not able to convert into SHG 2.0. That is not a very viable business model. Financial remediation तो कर पाए हैं, but economies of scale वगैरह नहीं develop कर पाए हैं. Second, these SHGs, they are many times dominated by people who have some kind of power, authority, etc. And these SHGs, they lack professional training, etc. They don't have technological updation. इसीलिए government came up with E-Shakti for providing them or computerizing the SHGs, etc. These are the major problems. Then in best practice, we discussed about NABARD bank linkage program, where banks will be providing loans to NABARD and NABARD will be microfinancing these SHGs. Then, sorry, vice versa, NABARD will provide to bank. Then we also discussed about the Kerala Kudumshri, Bihar Ajivika model and the Odisha model, okay, as the best practice. Very quickly, because we did more things in the class than is given in this notes, so we will do this very quickly from the class notes only. So features is fine. I think it was in the notes also. SHG and NGO difference also we have done. Significance mein, there is social empowerment. For example, women were able to mobilize on social issues. There is leadership of women. There is development of rural areas. There is poverty reduction. NAFIS का report कहता है that 22% households which were member of SHG, poverty is reduced. It reduced rural indebtedness. Rural indebtedness जो है कम हो गया. The income of the families increased from 8,059 to 12,698, which is a 57% increase. रूरल डिमांड क्रिएशन हो गया. एक्सपेंडिचर जो है 6,646 रुपए से 11,710 रुपए हो गया. सो देर इज इंक्रीज्ड एक्सपेंडिचर, there is increased income is increasing by 57%, expenditure is also increasing by almost 50%. There is also increase in financial saving by 66%. Annually they are able to save 13,000 rupees from earlier 9,000 rupees. It also tackles the failure of cooperative sector in India. There is also financial inclusion. 1.46 lakh crore loans have been given to SHGs. There is last mile reach of the government through Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Rural Livelihood Mission. Just give me 1 second. Apologies for that delay. Is my voice audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What was the last thing we discussed?
We have to discuss challenges related to SHGs.
Okay, so with respect to the SHGs, we discussed its significance. Now the challenges, there is lack of integration of technology, there is lack of proper management and training. They are not able to create large scales business models. There is exploitation by stronger members. There is high dependency or politicization of SHGs. Then we discussed about the way forward or best practices, in which we discussed E-Shakti, NABARD. Then we also talked about Kudumshri in Kerala, SHG in Bastar, and Ajivika in Bihar. Kudumshri, it contributed 7 crore to Chief Minister's Relief Fund, which is 3 crore more than Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. SHG in Bastar, it was able to create a PDS in the area, which was having zero pilferage. Ajivika in Bihar, it campaigned for ban on social liquor, which was successful. SHG in Odisha, it is important for political empowerment of women. That is Malkangiri in Sundargarh. Okay. So conclusion mein, SHGs have created a silent revolution in India, and they are laying the foundation of Atmanirbhar Bharat. We also talked about Panch Sutras of SHG, that is regular saving, periodic and regular meeting, proper maintenance of record, internal lending, recovery of loan within 6 months. This should be the way forward in which we will write the Panch Sutras. So that is all on all the stakeholders of development. We began the class today with what is governance. We discussed everything with respect to governance. Then we discussed an important stakeholder of governance, that is bureaucracy, the role of civil services in governance. Then we discussed a type of governance called e-governance, its definition, model, benefits, success, challenges. Then we discussed two other stakeholders of governance, that is NGO and SHG. So this completes a very important or crucial or part of your GS2 syllabus, that is governance, stakeholders of governance, issues arising out of that. Okay, so that is all. I'll be leaving early today because of Janmashtami. So tomorrow's session, we have an essay session, and in the morning we have optional session. With respect to our PRAHAAR, we will be doing economy, environment, and disaster management in the coming class. By that, we will be able to complete most of the topics. Only geography and polity basic static revision will be left, and some topics of current. So in the next 3-4 classes, we'll be able to complete the entire revision of GS paper. For tomorrow, let us meet in the morning with philosophy optional and afternoon with essay. Okay. Thank you for your time and patience. I hope the revision was quick and useful.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
I think so.
Thank you, sir.